There are a couple of ways to sew eyeballs on these little owls that I'm making, and somebody had asked how I go about doing it once it's already filled. I'm going to show you that, but first I'll show you how you just put them on quickly before you fill it, which is also a possibility. You use a double thread. So I have two ends of my thread together. I'm going to put a knot in the end, and then I'm going to get started. So I have my bottom already done. I have my body already put together. These are where I want to put my eyes, and I'm going to just sew them on by starting in the middle of the penguin. I'm going to put my needle inside and bring it all the way up to right about where I want the eyeballs to be. Right there. And my knot's inside that way. And then I'm going to place my button where I want it to be. I'm going to fold down my nose. And I'm just going to hold the pointed nose where it needs to be. I'm going to hold the button where it needs to be. I'm going to come up through the button. And down through. I'm going to come down through the point of the nose and the body back to the inside. And then I'm going to come back up through the body and that bottom hole. Now these buttons aren't being used to hold something shut, so there's not going to be a lot of stress on them. I would only suggest 2 or 3 times going through this process of going through the hole. So I'm going to go through the 3rd time, and I'm going to end it. And back down. And next time when I come up, I'm actually going to knot it. Well, actually I can knot it on the inside. So I'm going to turn it inside out. I'm going to take a little stitch behind the button here. And I'm going to put my needle through the loop and pull. I'm going to do another one just to make sure it holds. And once you get both of the buttons on, I can just go right over to the other side. I don't have to cut it, but I like to put a knot anyway in case one of the buttons falls off, the other one won't automatically fall off too. So then you can come right over to the other side and start over there. So you can go right ahead, sew both of the buttons on, and then do your stitching around the bottom and fill it and finish it off just like you normally would. So to put a button on something that's already sewn and stuffed, and I'm going to use a double thread. So I thread my needle and I put a knot at the end of both of them together. And then I get one of my buttons ready. So I decide where I want the nose to go. And then I decide where I want the button to go. And I come in behind the nose with my knot. So the button's going to go right there. So I'm going to come in behind here with the knot. Right behind the little beak flap. And it doesn't need to be that long of an end, so I'm going to snip that off. And then I'll put my thread up through the button and down through the other hole. And then slide it into place where I want it to be. Right there. And then behind the button, I'm going to take a stitch in the body of the owl and then come up through the beak of the owl, kind of right where I came up the first time with the knot. And I'm going to cinch that up. And then I'm going to come up through the eye hole in the button. And go back down through just the button, not the body. And then behind the button again, I'm going to take a stitch right next to where I did last time into the body, and then up through the beak piece, all behind the button, and cinch it up. I'll do one more. 3 should be enough. Nobody's using this as a button to secure anything. It's just for decoration, so it's not going to get pulled and tugged on a lot. Go down through just the button, and one more stitch behind it in the body and the beak. And then I like to just do a couple of stitches, not stitches, I just like to wrap around the stitches I just made and hold them nice and tight together. And then I take one little stitch behind there. It's hard to show you. And then I take my thread and I pull it up so that I have just that loop. And I put my needle through the loop. But I kind of want to do it again. So before I pull it tight, I pull just the little loop tighter. And there's my second loop. And I'm going to go through that too. When I pull that, I should have a nice knot behind there. And then I could just snip it off, but I always like to take one more stitch so that the snipped ends are going to be tucked into the body. When I cut this close, I can cut it close right to the fabric so you don't see it at all. And then the ends are stuck right in there inside the body. Trim this.